The Creative Collective. Collaboration, not competition.
What are we talking about today?
Well, in the last episode, we spoke about the 3 things that you should do when you start a business.
Which was?
The first one was networking. Second one was professional development. The third one was consistency. It's like we planned that. It's beautiful. And this one, we are talking about the 3 things that you shouldn't do when you start a business.
Yes. Okay.
So I had one which you've already poo-pooed when we first discussed this.
In our production meeting.
In our production meeting at McDonald's. And it was, don't work every hour that you possibly can. Why did you deny me that point?
Well, put your argument forward, and then we'll go from there.
Well, because I'm right, I did that. I did exactly that when I started. Although in the previous episode I said I was procrastinating a lot, but when I finally kicked into gear, I was working all of the hours. So I would do a bit in the morning, then do the 9 till 5, then work in the evenings as well and at the weekends, because I thought, well, it's my business, so I can do what I want, and thought that I wanted to work all of the hours, but it didn't leave me time to do anything else, to recuperate, to get my zing back. And I wasn't working at optimal, I guess, working capacity, because I was just tired all the time. And you don't focus as well, less productive, less efficient, everything takes longer. So therefore you do have to keep working those hours to fit in everything that you wanted to fit in. And I think it's just a bad cycle to get into.
Okay.
So when you do have those proper weekends and proper evenings, you know that you have to work optimally in the time that you do work.
Yeah. Quality, not quantity.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that makes perfect sense. I can't really argue with that. I suppose where I would kind of disagree is, well, I'm talking about it from the start. At the start of the business, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing a huge amount of hours to get yourself established quicker, if you're not burning yourself out. Because I think when you're established and you're working all the hours, that's when you can get burnt out. But at the start, for me anyway, I was so invigorated by starting my business and so excited, I wouldn't think anything of just working pretty much 7 days a week. Not stupid hours, but just consistently 7 days a week. And it didn't matter because I was doing something new and exciting, and it was, like you said, it's for your business. But I do think there's a tipping point where, you got to work smarter, not harder.
I think so I didn't have that excitement because like I said in the last episode, I had that sort of extended period of slowly starting a business. So by the time it got to the point where I had to work those, or I felt that I had to work those hours, it was more in panic mode because I'd run out of redundancy money to spend.
Yes.
So I was more like, oh my God, I've got to make this work, must work all the hours. And that was the wrong mindset, I think.
Well, yeah, following on from that is that working a huge amount of hours doesn't mean you get more done, or doesn't mean you get more work quicker, because there's only a certain amount you can do in a day anyway.
And it has to be the right work as well. And at that point, I didn't know what I was doing at the beginning. So I think if I'd have took a step back, planned a bit better, rather than just throwing myself into got to do this, got to do that, got to do everything. It's not a good time. Why did I start a business?
Yeah. Maybe there'll be no episode 10 because we'll both be back to employment.
See you later.
I think I'm unemployable now. I think it gets to a stage.
I think you are as well. I
think most people that I've worked with or for would say I'm unemployable. But no, but you do get to a stage where you're in charge of your own diary. You can, not pick and choose.
Would you not be able to get employed as project manager? Because that's what you do, right, with your own jobs?
Yeah, but it's still on your own terms, isn't it? You still... but anyway, we digress. But I think, I think absolutely you can work. I used to subscribe to sort of Notion when when Gary Vee was really big. He probably still is, but I think he's changed tact a bit now. You know Gary Vee?
I was just going to say, I don't know who Gary Vee is.
Okay, so Gary Vee he started a YouTube channel, and is a marketer essentially, and he was one of the kind of front runners with sort of the hustle culture. Work, you know, sleeping 4 hours, getting up at 5, like the 5 a.m. club, all that. He was sort of, he was quite established in that. Huge following, but now he's softened because he's got slightly older. But his book, I think it's just called Hustle, actually. Anyway, his book was really good at the start of my business because it does get you up and running pretty quick.
Yep.
And it's just about, we come back to it, relentless consistency, basically. So I think there's a place for it, but maybe with a bit of experience, you know how far you can push yourself. And age as well.
Yep.
That's the other thing. If you're coming out of uni, you're 19, 20, 21, you've obviously got a lot more energy and a lot more bandwidth than when you're our age.
What are you saying, Ben?
We're old. That's what I'm saying.
So point one was maybe don't work all of the hours that you're awake.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Because it's just not sustainable.
No, that's the key point, I think. It isn't, yeah.
Okay, so point two, the things that you should not do.
Go on then.
Is, oh dear.
That's okay.
Point two is, you came up with this one, was comparing yourself to others. Why not?
So, point two, comparing yourself to others. Yeah, maybe this is more aimed at social media. But I think in all areas of life, I suppose, in business life. Yeah, always thinking someone's getting the better jobs, always thinking people are really busy, always thinking people are really successful, and basically coming at business from a place of lack, which is not a nice place to be. And it doesn't do you any favours, because if you are relying on social media for perception, well, it's completely false. Everybody knows that. I know sometimes people are honest about, their business troubles and things, but even that, sometimes you can kind of see through it, and it's for engagement and for comments. And so I'm not sure how truthful it is really. But I think if you're in a place where you're comparing yourself to others, you're never gonna feel happy and content, because there's always going to be someone doing better than you.
Be aware, but don't compare.
Oh,
I wrote that with my own pencil.
Did you?
Yeah.
I like that. Be aware, but don't compare. What do you mean by that?
So, and it was something, again, this is something I didn't do that to start with. So I would compare myself to others. Why are they getting that job? Why aren't I getting those good gigs? No, it was just, you just reframe it from sort of a negative, almost getting wound up that these other people, sometimes your friends are getting these jobs and you think, arsehole, I'm not getting that job.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. But actually it's, I could get that job. Okay. There's no reason why I can't get that at some point. And it's just knowing, well, the opportunities are there, you just have to get it. Because you're not going to get that job because you probably didn't go for it anyway. So there's no point in comparing.
Pretty difficult to get a job if you don't go.
Exactly. So why worry about things that have been out of your control, and you just see it, like you said, on social media, for example. If you weren't in that place at that time, forget it. If you went for that job, maybe you can think, why didn't I get it? Not just, I didn't get it, he got it, or whatever. So I think you can always look at what other people are doing, but don't just try not to be affected by it, because it will bring you down, man.
It sounds like you've done you've done very well at reframing that. So basically seeing a potential negative and like twisting it around, basically.
Yeah.
Bloody difficult to do though.
Yeah.
But I do like that though, as in, like, if I want that job, there's no reason, or if there is a reason why I couldn't get that job, what is it?
Yeah, work it out.
Yeah.
Rather than just think, I didn't get that one. That's the worst.
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah.
But then that comes back to, and maybe we could have said this on the last episode. Consistency we mentioned, but resilience as well. About taking those sort of micro knockbacks but just carry on going, and actually being really honest with yourself about, well, why isn't business going well, and what can I do about that?
That sort of thing, I think, sometimes comes with time.
Okay.
Like they always say at the beginning of voiceover, they say you got to have a thick skin, but you're not at the start. If you're coming in completely raw, you go for a job and you think, oh, I did really well for that, and you don't get it, it's a blow because
Is it, though?
Because you want that job.
Okay.
I think for a lot of people it would be, but it's just a numbers game. The more you do, the more it feels like it's just part of it.
But the other way to look at that is that if you're brand new into voiceover and you know that you're going to get knockbacks, your expectations surely would be lower.
Depends how arrogant you are, I think.
I see. And you are incredibly arrogant.
I am. I haven't been called arrogant before, actually.
Have you?
I think it's because of how awesome I am.
Have you?
Yeah.
Who called you out? Well, this
is going back
Go on.
probably 20 years.
Okay.
I think, no, maybe more than that. This is, yeah. Oh God, I'm revealing my true age here. Yeah, and I think it was around the time when I thought that I was famous.
Amazing.
So I think there's something in it.
Amazing. You thought you were famous. As in, this is back in the band days.
I thought that I could be famous.
Okay. That's even worse.
So I was delusional, shall we say. But yeah, where were we with that?
No,
I mean, we can carry on going down this Martin is arrogant route.
Well, whatever happens from today, I've got. I'm just going to be calling you arrogant from now on.
I don't mind.
We were talking about expectation, and in the voiceover world,
yes,
being new, and the way I would look at it is, well, I'm on a free roll. Obviously, you're not if you're in business and you're relying on business straight away, but you're on a free roll to a certain extent because you don't have the experience. So why should I get the jobs? But I've still got to go through this process.
But there will be the people that really, really want that job and will be gutted if they don't get it. And I think, like, for example, if I was going for a job that I keep moving away from the mic, sorry, how professional.
Spot the voiceover artist.
Where it was a really well-paying job for a big brand, and I got down to the final two, and they just say, "Oh, we've gone with the other guy." How could I not be affected by that? You know, you can take the positive. Oh, I almost got that massive job, but when you get that far into something, your hopes are getting more and more and more.
Yeah.
And then at the final stage, cut down to size.
That makes sense. But then, okay, so fast forward, how do you deal with rejection now?
How do I deal with rejection? It's become numbers. That's all it is. People are numbers until they respond. It's very cold.
Oh, I like that.
Very cold.
Oh, he's so arrogant.
But there's no point in worrying. And I think what really helped was going through a phase of cold emailing.
Yep.
To start with, you send your first 10 emails, and it's a bit like, oh, they haven't got back to me. They must hate me.
Yeah.
How can they hate me? I'm so good, sort of thing. I'm leaning into it now. But the more that you do it, you just click send and you immediately forget, move on to the next one. Until they respond, there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah. Okay, that makes total sense. But what about when you've got down to the final five and you know that?
Yep.
So they're not numbers now. It's potentially the difference between a good month and a bad month. Are you emotionally able to deal with that now because you've been in the game so long and you know that it is still a numbers game?
Yes, because I think now there's always something else for me to move on to. Whereas I think earlier on you would pin your hopes on the fewer jobs that you were going for.
Yeah.
But now, you know, being and also being minted,
of course,
don't need to worry about it as much. But yeah, I think it's at the beginning the jobs are fewer and far between.
So the perception is that they're more valuable.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got there.
Yes.
We done it.
Which brings us on to number 3.
Which is we spoke for too long. There was no way I could remember what that said.
Perfect timing though, look at that.
So seeing as everyone is competition was what we just spoke about. Putting yourself out there too soon.
Now this will be interesting.
Do you think?
So let's just go from the top of that then, shall we? Okay, so that brings us to number 3.
Yep.
Over to you. Putting yourself...
Yes. Such a bad memory. Yeah. Is it possible to put yourself out there too soon? I would say yes.
And I would say yes and no.
Ooh. Nikki, what would you say? Nikki wasn't listening.
Nikki was checking her emails.
I mean, that's what I did just then.
Anything good? Any rejections?
Loads, and it's a blow, to be honest. It's completely thrown me.
I'm a bit down now. I need a break.
Right, so is it possible?
It's a bit of a blow. That was very well done.
It was.
Go on.
What was the question?
This is going well. Putting yourself out there.
Back on form. Put
Too
yourself out
soon.
too soon. Yeah, so you risk. I think there's two strands to this. So if you put yourself out there too soon to the wrong people that should become the right people down the line. So there's quite a thing in, and going back to voiceover again, if you start sending out early recordings that perhaps aren't very good recordings, and B, you're just not very good at voiceover yet, to producers, agencies, there's a chance they will remember that. That's their first impression of you, and first impressions last.
Okay.
So I think in that regard, you can put yourself out there too soon if you're just very, very green in terms of skill. So before you've got to a good enough sellable level, but putting yourself out there too soon to other people, like your general networking businesses that you 99% chance not going to work with them, but you could build relationships with them. I think you can go out very early and put yourself in a position of, or put the other people in the position of power, and you want to learn from them. I'm very new in business. What would you do in this situation?
Yes.
That sort of thing. I think that's fine. In terms of skill, I don't think so.
Yeah, I would kind of agree, I suppose. On the skill side of things, the other way to look at it, and I don't think either is wrong or right really, because it totally depends on the person and the situation. But I would say that you only get to know how good or bad you are by getting out there anyway. Because you could, what's the analogy that I'll come up with? You could be a great sports person in training, and you could, your technique could be incredible, and you could have all the strategy and tactics or whatever. And then you get on the pitch and you go to pot for other reasons. So, and that could be exactly the same as starting a creative business. You could feel that your skills or certain aspects are great, but you get into that position of actually working for someone and you're not quite up to it because you haven't built up the experience. And the only way to get experience is to get out there and keep on doing it and doing it and doing it. So it's two sides of...
A bit like playing pool with your mate sort of thing, and then having your first competitive match.
Like last night, you mean? Thanks, mate.
Sorry.
For context, I had a competitive game of pool last night and got absolutely horsed, 8-3. So thanks. Unbelievable. Same thing, because I was warming up. In fact, it's a great example because I was warming up and I was potting everything. So there we go. Game time comes and it's just a different thing, isn't it?
With darts, I've started playing darts a bit at home by myself.
Yeah.
As soon as I got the app to keep track of my scoring, as soon as I press go on that game, I start messing up all over the place. It's just an app keeping track of my score.
The inbuilt pressure, well, there you go. That is fascinating in a way.
We're both rubbish.
We're both rubbish. So I think there's arguments to, because the other way to look at it is if you're going to fail early when there's not too much riding on it. And again, it does depend on where you are in the business. Because if you're part-time or you're starting your business but you've still got some money coming in, well, I think that is the time to start too early, really, because your mortgage or rent isn't at risk. Whereas if yeah, if you're starting a business and you need to for you to hit the ground running, well, then maybe that's the time. I don't know. It's a difficult one.
Let us know in the comments below. There we go. Had to
Put it in there. Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty much it, I think, for this.
So 3 things you shouldn't do when you start a business is, first one, be arrogant.
Yeah.
Well, don't be arrogant. First one was don't work all the hours.
Yes.
Maybe. Because was that what we decided in the end?
Yes. I mean, basically, we've got a top 3, all with caveats.
Yes.
So the top 3 with caveats are.
Don't spend every hour working.
Yep.
Because it's not sustainable.
Yep.
Second one was. Oh, this is bad. The second.
Second one was.
The second one was
don't
compare yourself.
Okay.
To
Second
others.
one was.
Don't compare yourself to others. I read it again then.
Second one, without checking your phone.
The second one was don't compare yourself to others.
Nice.
And the third one was just spoken about it.
I think what this does show is, as you get older, your memory decreases pretty badly. Literally, we've just been speaking about it.
Third one was
we
discussed whether you should put yourself out there or whether you can put yourself out there too soon.
Yeah, well done. Okay, we got there.
Would have helped if we were recording.